There were two investigations into Polymarket, the US Justice Department and also the CFTC, looking at whether Polymarket was accepting trades. But that was a Biden-era investigation that our reporting says is over. What do you make of that?
You know, Ed, thanks for having me. And it's funny, I spent some hours on the plane last night, and I looked at the number of hours spent on Biden-era lawsuits and investigations, and it was over 10 years combined of man and woman hours spent on these various investigations. What I make of that is part of what we've seen as this tectonic shift of let's get back to fundamentals and let's make sure that if we're investigating different businesses, that there's really some there. And that really plays into the whole theme of Crypto Week, which is getting to the clarity that the industry has been asking for years.
You're a former assistant U.S. attorney in the economics crime unit, so it's great timing to have you on the program. It is Crypto Week, and what's so interesting on the Bloomberg terminal, there's a lot of contradicting reports, right? There was a report last night that Bitcoin has a lot of room to run because it is Crypto Week and everyone's sort of enthusiastic and talking about it. Actually, there's a bit of profit taking this morning. What is the main tailwind right now that you're seeing for this industry?
The main tailwind is having this basis for institutional capital to enter. When you're looking at from the sidelines, there's still a ton of institutional capital on the sidelines. Why? Because although there's been talk for years, as I just said, about getting to this clarity, we're really finally seeing that momentum actually happen. We're seeing that momentum happen in legislation. We're seeing that momentum happen in bipartisan support and voting behind these key legislative initiatives. And that's key. All of the complexity that we saw behind some of these cases that have been dismissed, that we've just been talking about, that complexity is what breeds the insecurity. It's what keeps capital out. They're looking in, they're waiting for that moment. They see the promise of the technology, but they just can't get their arms around the regulatory insecurity they see and they sense. So now we're heading in that direction. You know, someone asked me yesterday, Crypto Week, is this just the crypto industry being loud? And I said, no, this is actually coming from Congress. That is a huge difference. And that's the momentum shift we're seeing. We have bipartisan support with the realization, knowing from years of work from many in the industry that we need to get that clarity, and we're heading finally in that correct direction.
Katherine, this week the House will vote on bills to regulate stablecoins during Crypto Week. Your expectation quickly of what's going to happen?
Expectation is that stablecoin is heading towards signature. That momentum's been there. It's something. It's a piece that you can understand. These are centralized intermediaries that should be regulated. It's hard to have a bipartisan disagreement about that fact. Yes, you can quibble about the language and how we write it up, but I think there's no disagreement that this is an area that should be regulated. And this is all on the heels of the Circle IPO, so we can see that moving forward. Clarity, that hopefully will get through the House, and then we'll see what the Senate does with that. Will they take clarity? Will they create their own? We've been hearing about the Senate version that's going to come out, so we'll see whether those two get squashed together or whether the Senate will look at clarity. And some of that will just depend on the politics that plays out over the next few days during the Crypto Week.